All right, Shalom, Israel. We are the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. Started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana, Priest and Officer 5000 Kasar Kai. The Thursday night scripture breakdown for ICPK Northern California, ICPK Sacramento. We're out here live in effect in the building at 2213 McDonald Ave. If you're in the area, pull up at any given time, Tuesday through Friday, 7 to 9 o'clock p.m. We're also here on Saturday, which is the Sabbath service from 10 o'clock a.m. to 12 o'clock p.m. All right. We're going to go straight into tonight's topic. Today's class is going to be a short class. So, like it, we're not going to do the full 2 hours. We are going to run through a lot of precepts real quick. The topic will be hell and how the Christian church, your oppressor, who is the devil, has used hell against the Black community, has used it against our people, and use it to instill fear in us, this place called hell, where you will go to and burn for eternity because of the decisions you made here on earth. And they use these stories, which come from Dante's Inferno, right? A book that was written, I believe, in the 1500s. Let's double check real quick. 1600s. Let's see. Oh, no. Let's see. What was this word? Slack. Inferno, Dante, 14. So this is the 1300s. A little bit further back. Inferno is the first part of Italian writer Dante's Alighieri's 14th century epic poem. So this is in the 1300s. And it's talking about his journey and different levels of hell. The Inferno describes the journey of a fictionalized version of Dante himself through hell, guided by ancient Roman poet Virgil. In the poem, hell is depicted as 9 concentric circles of torment located within the earth. It is the realm of those who have rejected spiritual values by yielding to bestial appetites or violence, or by perverting their human intellect to fraud or malice against their fellow men. All right. Represents the journey of the soul toward God. Divine Comedy, with the Inferno describing the recognition and rejection of sin. So, long story short, in this book, this man created an invention of his viewpoints of his journey to hell, and this is what has become in the Christian mind what the Lord said hell was. When the hell is being spoken of in the Bible, you are visualizing this story of this oppressor. All right, so let me go grab some water. But so like that's what you visualize. That's what you visualize when you're talking about hell, someplace where you burning in fire, it's torment, it's torture, all these things. When in reality, the hell of the Bible was describing the condition on earth that people are living in. The places that you dwell, Black, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. Your ghetto, your barrio, your reservation is hell. That prison where you're pacing back and forth and it's 100 degrees in heat with no AC, you feel like you can't breathe, or it's cold, it's freezing cold. You don't have any blankets. You got a sheet or a shirt to use as a blanket and a pillow. That is hell. You walking around pacing back and forth, twisting your head for years and years and years. That's hell, right? Not knowing how you're going to feed your 5-month-old baby. That's hell. Knowing your mother is on crack and your cousin sold it to her, that's hell. sitting at a Thanksgiving dinner with your uncle that molested your sister, trying to have a family day, that's hell, man. The conditions that Black people, Hispanic people, and Native Americans live day to day, in and out, going to these jobs, to this slavery, punching the clock, doing the same thing over and over and over again. That is hell. That's where you live at. In heaven, the heaven that is on earth is the kingdom that your oppressor lives in, where they go on vacations, where they don't go to jail, but they don't worry about how they're going to feed their 5-month-old baby, where they're able to have savings accounts. And what is it? What do they say? The average wealth of a Black family versus a white family? Racial wealth gap. Let's see. One thing real quick. Racial wealth gap. And we're going to get to these precepts. Between Black and white. Let's see what we got. All right. The wealth of white households relative to the wealth of other households in 2021, the typical white household had 9.2 times as much wealth as the typical Black household. $250,000, matter of fact, $250,400 versus $27,100. This ratio stood at 13.3 in 2019, prior to the onset of the pandemic. So it was actually 13 times higher. The pandemic, good night. That's evidence right there. Barakatah Yahweh Yahweh Shai for the COVID-19, right? Barakatah Yahweh Yahweh Shai for these plagues that have come to curse this place called America. Because once again, the more and more your oppressor falls down, the more and more you come up. So this gap got shortened because of the pandemic. Before it was 13 times, now it's down to 9 times. That's still a hell of a disparity. That's still a hell of amount of inequality, but we're seeing this slowly falling and coming down lower and lower and lower. So they're gonna be looking you dead in the eyes, and they're gonna be living just like niggas too. They're gonna be looking at you, asking you for tips and advice on how to survive through this hell. So how do you do that with the ramen noodles? Okay, you call that a what? You call that a hookup? You call that a spread? Jamal, can you show me how to make one of those spreads? They're gonna be trying to put kale in the spreads and all that, man. They're gonna be trying to put what they put in the potato salad. They're gonna be putting olives in the spread, man. Using eggs and vegan hot dogs and kale and olives. They still gonna try to turn them. Do you have gluten-free ramen? No, Becky, get the hell out of my face, man. Gotta go figure out how to make some gravel and dirt and make it taste good, man. Because we're not gonna be eating ramen no more. The more and more they fall down, the more and more we gonna rise up, man. We're gonna be eating the steaks. We're gonna be eating that good beef bacon, man. We're gonna be eating all the luxury food that is lawful that the Lord wants us to eat, as these devils are gonna be trying to eat mud sandwiches like our brothers in Haiti are eating. Because our hell is their heaven, and our heaven is their hell, right? Let's go ahead. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 16. For we have not followed cunningly devised fables when we made known unto you the power and coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, or Yahweh Shai Mashiach, but were eyewitnesses of his majesty. Us and the ISUPK, we have not followed cunningly devised fables. These stories and lies of hell and being burning in this inferno with Dante, we're not falling for these lies and these fables, these fairy tales. We're seeing through the BS that they're teaching you, and we realize that they want you to be a good slave on earth, dedicate your life to obeying your master, your slave masters on earth, so you can die and go to an imaginary heaven that you believe is some place in the sky that's better for you. And they use the fear tactic of going to hell. So if you disobey your slave master, then you're going to burn in this inferno forever. When in reality, that's a cunning fable. The truth is you already are in hell. You need to take off the blinders, take off the matrix goggles, and realize the reality is you're living in a lie right now. You're living in hell right now. All right. Let's go to the next precept, Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. We're going to run through a lot of precepts, though, like I said, just because it's going to be a shorter class this time. We'll revisit anything that we don't go over. Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but fear rather him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. The Lord is telling you, right? Christ is telling you, don't fear them that can kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him, which is the Most High, which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. How is your body going to be in hell if you're supposed to be a spirit in hell? You're supposed to be dead and gone. Let's lock it in hell in spirit form, but your body is supposed to be in hell. Here it's saying that that's you having a physical body living in hell, living in hellish conditions. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy 32 and 22. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 22. And it reads, for fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. The Lord is angry, and he's saying he's going to punish those on earth to the lowest hell, bring them to the lowest state because of the evil that they have done. That is what he's saying. And set on fire the foundations of the mountains of these different governments and rulers and all these different nations that are in charge. The Lord is going to destroy them in his anger for the things they have done. So this is not a spiritual talk when it's talking about destroying to the lowest hell. It's saying that you're going to be put at the lowest state right here on earth. Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1 and verse 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. So what does this have to do with hell? This is talking about reincarnation. This is talking about the fact that once you pass on, you will be reborn again. Everyone that is here has been here before. You will be regenerated or reincarnated in another life. That's what's going to happen to you. There is no place where you go eternally either way. There's no heaven that you go to visit for all eternity, 1,000 years. There is no place that you go to be destroyed for 1,000 years. Everyone has to die, and you will be reborn again. You will be regenerated. And this is something, like I say, for Black people that's hearing that for the first time, Latino people that's hearing that for the first time, it sounds shocking for someone to teach the Bible and to teach this, because we associate this with Eastern religions. We associate this with, the Hindus and all that when they talk about reincarnation. But at the same time, the Christian church doesn't teach reincarnation, but our culture speaks on these things all the time. You hear old Black women, old Black men, old people in general, man, from our communities. They always say they see certain children and they acknowledge that this child has an old soul. They say that all of the time. It's in our culture, but we don't realize what we're really saying is the reality of what's going on. This baby does have an old soul. This baby has a spirit that was here before. This baby has something inside of him or her that shows This is not their first rodeo, right? It's not their first time because they have been here before, like what is being described in Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. There is nothing new under the sun. John chapter 9, verse 1. Let's go there. And reincarnation and hell go hand in hand, because if there's reincarnation, then the story they're telling you about hell doesn't make sense. If there is no reincarnation, then okay, they may have a foot to stand on. But we're going to see what was taught in the Bible and what the men in the Bible believe. The book of John, chapter 9, verse 1. And Yahushua passed by. He saw a man which was blind from his birth. It's very important. He was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? So who sinned? Was it the man or was his parents? Was it his parents? Okay, if this man was born blind from birth, how could he have sinned unless he were here at another time? He had to have been alive at another time to sin, to receive this punishment of the sin later on. And that's the reality of things. That's what Christ taught. That's what the Bible teaches. That's what we teach in the ISUPK. And that's what makes sense, because this is where you live out your punishment. We're going to get that later in Ecclesiastes 2. We're going to go back to that, the 3rd chapter, right? But let's keep going. Christ didn't say these men were crazy for asking him this question. He didn't shun them or try to make them look stupid, because, you know, he was checking brothers when they were asking certain questions that didn't make sense. He's going to tell them, you know, in a certain way, hey, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. Or when I think the woman asked to have her son sit next to Christ in the kingdom of heaven, and he's like, man, you don't want to drink from the cup that I drink of. You don't want to go through the burden that it takes to get this position. Like, if people asking certain questions, they didn't really know what they're talking about. He's going to correct them right then there on the spot and let them know what they're saying is out the spirit, or it just doesn't make sense, or it's foolish, or whatever, right? Same way when Nicodemus asked him a certain question about, you know, being born again, and how can a man come through, you know, birth again as a full-grown man. He talked to him like, nigga, what are you talking about? That's not, you don't understand that. You're supposed to be one of the wisest men in Israel, and you don't understand the simple parable of what I'm saying in spiritual matters, right? But he didn't come at these brothers like that. He answered them like this. Go ahead. The book of John, chapter 9, verse 3. Yahushua answered, neither hath this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of the Most High should be made manifest in him. I must work the works of him that sent me, while it is day, the night cometh, when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. So he's saying, you know, the brother didn't do anything in his past life to be born blind, even though that is what happens, you know. And his parents didn't do anything that he could be born blind, even though those are things that happen. The reason why he was born blind is because I came to do this miracle, because the Lord sent me to do this miracle so that you can see this thing and follow and listen to the things that I'm telling you, right? But he didn't say, you know, that's crazy what you're talking about, some man sinning before he was born. He didn't say none of that, because that's what he taught. That's what the Bible teaches, all right? Let's go to Matthew chapter 11, verse 14. The book of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 14. And it reads, and if you will receive it, so, okay, we'll go up a little bit. Talking about John the Baptist right here. And from the days of John the Baptist, we're going to verse 12. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets in the law prophesied until John. And if you will receive it, this is Elias, or Elijah, which was for to come. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. So Christ is knowing in the spirit that John the Baptist was Elijah. And all the prophets prophesied that Elijah would come before the Messiah returns. And they knew that they were talking about reincarnation. They weren't talking about Elijah coming back, the same man 1,000 years old, man. Nah, that's not what they're talking about. It's coming back in new body, same spirit. And Christ is saying, he that hath an ear, let him hear, because how can you verify this? Christ knew it because he was in the spirit. He knew who he was based on knowing the scriptures, based on knowing who he was, right? In the movie, he's knowing, realizing, like, okay, he's understanding who he is. Okay, and I know who that is. And I know who you are. You are the evil men that were prophesied that were going to try to kill the Messiah. That's who you are in this movie. And this is who I am, and that's who he is, right? And so if Elijah was to be reincarnated, if he was a good person, right, a prophet of the Lord, then he should just be in heaven, living his life out for eternity, floating on the clouds. How they paint heaven to you. Or if it was a bad person, he should be in hell, right? But let's see, the brother says, Salak, if I may, is there any scripture that any prophet seen the Most High? Okay, no man has seen the Most High. They say, I believe, okay, it says that Moses saw the Most High, right? Let's go to get that one right here. It says the face of God. Exodus 33 and 11. Sidebar, go to this real quick. All right. The book of Exodus, chapter 33 and verse 11. And Yahweh spake unto Moses face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friend. And he turned again into the camp, but his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, departed not out of the tabernacle. When it's saying Moses spoke face to face with the Lord, it's saying that the way the Lord dealt with the different men before is different than how he dealt with Moses, right? And so, like, I don't want to misbreak this one down. So, like it. No, I remember the general breaking this one down. It might come right back to me. Give me a second. Let's see if it comes back to me. If not, I'll bring it back next week. Matter of fact, let me write that down if I can. Let me put it in my phone or something. Let's see. When he said Moses spoke with him face to face. Spoke. From my memory, let me go up a little bit. The book of Exodus, chapter 33, and verse 10. And all the people saw the cloudy pillar stand at the tabernacle door. And all the people rose up and worshiped, every man in his tent door. And the Lord spake unto Moses face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friend. So who comes prior to Moses? You got Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You got Noah. You got obviously Adam, the Lord spoke to these men. It's right there. It's right there. It's like he dealt with Moses in a way so direct that it was face to face. But no sweat. I'm gonna get that for you. I don't even want to misbreak that one down. Slack it. Let's go back to where we at? I think we're at Matthew 11 and 14. I think we did that one already. Next one will be Ecclesiastes. Let's double check. Yep, that was Elijah, right? That's the one in Matthew, talking about Elijah being John the Baptist, or John the Baptist being Elijah, right? This is showing you that a reincarnation is spoken of throughout the Bible, and there's no place for heaven and hell that's in another dimension if there is reincarnation. Something is not adding up, right? Let's go to Ecclesiastes 3, chapter 3, verse 14. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 14, and it reads, I know that whatsoever the Most High doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nothing nor anything taken from it. And God doeth it, that men should fear before him. You know what this is right here? You know what this is talking about? This is science right here. This is real life science, physics, quantum physics, whatever you want to call it. This is the stuff that Albert Einstein was discovering in the 1900s, right? The Bible is talking about science. It's saying that energy can't be created nor destroyed. Everything that is here was already here. There's nothing here. Everything, the weight of the earth never changed. It's the exact same. Things just transfer. Things just move from one thing to the other. Like you have water. If the water had a certain amount of weight and then it evaporates to the sky and becomes a cloud, that cloud has a certain amount of weight. And it's the same amount of water that it was over here is over there is the same thing, right? The same with your body, your flesh. My body is made up of this flesh and this skin from the food and stuff that I eat. When I die, I become dust, and all of that it is transferred its form. There's nothing added to the earth because I dissolve, nothing left the earth because I dissolve. It's the same amount of energy. And that's what it's saying right here. None of this stuff can be created or destroyed, right? So Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 14. I know that whatsoever the Most High doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it. You can't add anything to this, nor anything taken from it. And the Most High doeth it, that men should fear before him. Like, how gangster is that? Who can do that? Who can make something out of nothing? There was a great story or a parable people used to use when they try to say science can rival God, right? And they said, there was going to be a scientist that was going to rival the Most High. He can invent this. So God invented a plant. The scientist goes into the laboratory and says, I can take this cell, I can do that, boom, 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 boom. And look, I grew a plant from scratch. I did what God did. And he goes in and says, okay, you can create clone a sheep. Dolly the sheep, they clone the sheep. I can take some of this stem cell and do this, that, whatever, and grow that and make the sheep. Look, I created a sheep. And he did all this, and he kept going back and forth. And in the last part of the story, okay, God's like, all right, yeah, you can do the things I do, but now do it without using anything that I made already. Just create it out of your pure will. And the scientists couldn't do a goddamn thing. Like, you can mimic the Lord and copy the things that he's doing, and they're having a hard time doing that. They're not even skilled in doing that. They just They mirror these things and make horrible copies of what the Lord created already, right? Like the car, the vehicle is supposed to represent the human body. The oils, the blood, and the gas is the energy, the food that you eat. The engine is the heart of the car. You understand all these things? They use this to represent the human body to help make a vehicle. But if you compare the quality of a car to a human body, it's ridiculous. You think about a car, some people will say, right, I remember I was talking to the brother Nantazab at Passover, right? They're saying, yeah, 40 years old is a very young person in the grand scheme of the thousands of years of human history. A 40-year-old person is very young when you compare him to somebody that's 80 or somebody that's 100 years old. But if you compare a 40-year-old person to a vehicle, you'll realize how old that is. Because a man created this car, and you have a 40-year-old car. What's your 2024? So a 40-year-old car will be 1984. If you drove that car 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, without turning it off, constantly moving, that car would not be moving at all. But you are a human being, your heart never stops. It doesn't get a break. Like, we don't turn off. You take a nap and you go to sleep, but the engine is still running. Your heart is still pumping. Your brain is still working. Every day you're moving in and out, standing up, sitting down, running, jogging, jumping, doing all these things. And you can keep pushing to 100 years old, 80 years old, 90 years old. Could you imagine a vehicle that could do that? That's crazy. The Lord creates everything that we see, and he did it amazingly. From this micro level, for us just to live in this bubble on earth where the air and the water, everything works perfectly for us, right? You breathe out carbon monoxide. The plants breathe it in, and they give us oxygen from it. Like, humans can't do that. A scientist just can't do that with his own will. Even if he were able to mimic some of those things, he has to use the materials the Lord had. And that's what this is talking about right here. That's why you should fear the Lord, right? Once again, the book of Ecclesiastes 3:14. I know that whatsoever the Most High doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And the Most High doeth it, that men should fear before him, right? Let's go to the next precept. Psalms 18:3. The book of Psalms, chapter 18 and verse 3. And it reads, I will call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from mine enemies. The sorrows of death compassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. Verse 5, the sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. This is David singing, talking about his dangers in war and talking about how he felt like it was in hell and how he was at a lower state. This is what hell is. This is the life you live every day. Worrying about the police, worrying about the jack boys, worrying about your baby mama calling child support on you, worrying about CPS, worrying about your friends trying to steal from you, this one trying to kill you. That's hell. Your enemies come past you. You being surrounded by enemies. You got enemies as Edomites and oppressors. The police are your enemies. The judge is your enemies. The DA is the enemy. Your boss is your enemy. Your woman is your enemy. Your neighbor is your enemy. Your cousin is your enemy. Your mama's your enemy. You surrounded by enemies. You're living in hell. That's the feeling that David had. That's the feeling you wake up every day. This is why people, don't trust anyone. They become paranoid. They become angry. They lashing out at everything because they're living in hell. They're living in pain and suffering day in and day out. Let's go to Psalms chapter 9, verse 15. And it reads, The heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made. In the net which they hid is their own foot. The Lord is known by the judgment which he executed. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. The Gion, Salah. The wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget the Most High. You know what I mean? That's exactly what we were talking about at the beginning of class. These heathens are going to be turned into hell. They're going to go back and live the life that you have been living. It's going to be worse for them because the Lord said, pay unto them double the things that they have given unto you, right? That's what they're going to have to pay. That's the things that they're going to have to deal with. All right, let's keep going. We went through to verse 17. Let's go to Matthew chapter 6 and verse 10. The book of Matthew chapter 6 and verse 10. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. This is the Lord's prayer. This is what Christ prayed. And this is what we are supposed to pray like after learning from him. The kingdom of heaven, you know what I'm saying, is supposed to be in earth. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. This is the place where heaven is supposed to be at, right? Thy will be done. You understand? All right. It wasn't some place after. That's not even the whole spirit of what he was talking about. And they misconstrue and turn these cunning fables, as we talked about in 2 Peter. These story tales. And he's talking about a real life place for niggas and spicks to be free. To be rulers of this planet Earth. That's what Christ was talking about, right? 2 Ezra chapter 4, verse 7. We're going to go to the Apocrypha. How much time we got? 5 more minutes left. Second Ezra chapter 4 and verse 5 is what I believe. 4 and verse 7. And he said unto me, if I should ask thee how great dwellings are in the midst of the sea, or how many springs are in the beginning of the deep, or how many springs are above the firmament, or which are the outgoings of paradise, right? Peradventure, thou wouldest say unto me, I never went down into the deep, nor as yet into hell, neither did I ever climb up into heaven, right? This is, is explaining like hell is the deep and the depths on earth. You understand? And there's different dimensions, right? There's a heaven where the Most High lives, which is in the 4th dimension, right? Up in the firmament. But there's a heaven that is on earth, and there's a hell that is being described spiritually as the place and conditions our body is actually living in right here on earth, right? Let's go. Let's go to the next precept. Jonah 2 and 2. Right? The book of Jonah, chapter 2 and verse 2. We started 2 and 1. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord, or to Yahweh in his power, out of the fish's belly. And he cried by reason of mine affliction unto Yahweh. And he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and thou heardest my voice. We all know where he was at. He was in the belly of the whale. He was on earth, and he cried out from hell. He cried out from this condition that was atrocious, was horrible, was painful, was suffering. That's where he called out. That's the hell he was living in, right? Tobit chapter 13, verse 2 through 5. Tobit chapter 13 and verse 2. And it reads, For he doth scourge and have mercy. He leadeth down to hell and bringeth up again. Neither is there any that can avoid his hand. Confess him before the Gentiles, right? Ye children of Israel, for he hath scattered us among them. There declare his greatness and extol him before all the living. For he is our Lord, and he is the power our Father forever. And he will scourge us of our iniquities, and will have mercy again, and will gather us out of all nations among whom he has scattered us. Right? Once again from verse 2, for he doth scourge and have mercy. He leadeth down to hell and bringeth up again. Neither is there any that can avoid his hand. He leadeth those down into the lower states, and he brings them back up. He's going to raise the children of Israel out of this hellish condition. We just have to do what is right to get free from what we are, where we are serving out our punishment for disobeying him. Right? We got that. Let's go to Luke chapter 16, verse 19. This might be the last one. So lock in. I'll just wrap things up. Luke chapter 16 and verse 19. There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores. This is a parable about the rich people, the rich leaders of Israel, and then the poor brothers of Israel that we beg to these people that are leading our nation to help us, and they don't do anything about it. Right? And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. You know, these are all symbolic of the other nations, the dogs coming and licking our sores, giving us drugs, giving us food stamps, making us feel like we are, you know, a little bit better, or easing our suffering in the hell that we're living, even though we're not changing our condition. That's what the dogs licking the sores represent. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell he lifted up his eyes, being in torments, and seeing Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried, said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivest thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. Right? And so when you go down a little bit further, it talks about Moses and the prophets and Abraham and all of this. Like, this is a parable. He's using this to describe the Sadducees and Pharisees who are living today. He's not being literal. He's using an example that this man is asking for Lazarus to spare him while he's being tormented and punished. That's going to be the changing of the guard, as they say, when we will get in charge of the nation and be in rulership, and the people that work with these heathens and sold us out and try to destroy us right along with them, they're going to be living at a lower state. And they're going to ask for our mercy the same way we asked them for mercy, and they never showed it. And the Lord's not going to have mercy on them the same way they didn't have any on us, right? And so those are the things that these Christians try to stretch and use to manipulate the Bible to mean something else. But we clearly see throughout it that reincarnation is real. We clearly see that it's a condition that was used in the Bible to describe a condition, not a place you go to eternally burning. And we also can see how they could use that to manipulate you to say, hey, who wants to burn in some place forever? You mean to tell me if I just, fight against this oppressor, if I want to stand up and defend my family from being slaves, that means I'm going to go to hell for eternity. So I got to go to a place worse than this. I'm sitting here watching black women get raped, children molested. I'm seeing my brothers get beat down, seeing my mothers get slapped. I'm seeing us being worked from sun up to sundown for years and years and years. You telling me there's a place worse than this? Oh no, yeah, I might as well do what you're telling me to do. And that's the same way, you know, they keep us in check, these checks and balances. That's what'll have you kissing and hugging on the person that murdered your son, Bop and Jean. Those people don't love that oppressor. They scared of going to hell, so they forced themselves to love that oppressor that killed their family members. That's what happened in slavery. That was the dynamics, man. But once again, we're gonna close out here right now. Shalom once again to the sister as well. We are closing class out. Salaki sis, we're having a quicker class this week, but we'll go over a little bit more. Finish this topic up next week as far as hell is concerned, and how they try to change the story about what hell is in the Bible, when it's just a condition that we live in, that we know all too well. And it's not something we should fear about going to after we die. It's something we should fear about living. I'm not going to say fear, because only the Father is who we fear. But it's something that we shouldn't feel comfortable in living in, and we should want to be changed. We shouldn't wait to die to want to change our condition. We should do everything we can to fight to change it right now, to get out of this hell, that we can do something to get out of hell. In their story, their narrative, you get to hell, you can't get out. Well, in our hell, we can get out. And we're going to fix this by being righteous brothers and sisters, having brotherhood, having sisterhood, obeying the law, statutes, and commandments, and doing what's right according to the Lord, right? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and salute the brothers out there. Shalom, Yahweh, Shem Yahshua, thumb to all the brothers, and Yahweh Shamar, Allah thumb, Shem Yahshua, to all the sisters. All right.